Welcome back to Tales by WZ. Today's story is about a husband who got stranded in the woods as a prank and calmly responded by reporting his own car stolen. As you listen, think about the exact moment you would have stopped calling it a joke. My wife said, "Don't be a baby." I replied, "Okay, then it's stolen." Then I called it in, got a ranger ride home in one night, changed the locks with video proof, and boxed her things while the highway stop sparked a legal domino effect. I'm 32. My wife is 29, and her sister is 26. They love pranks, but not the harmless kind. Their version is more like setting you on fire and laughing while you try to put yourself out. They've done things like convince me my car was towed, then filmed me calling the tow company for an hour while I panicked. Her sister's boyfriend once called me pretending to be my boss and told me I was fired. I had a full anxiety spiral before they yelled, "Gotcha." I've told my wife straight up that this isn't funny. Pranks are supposed to be light, not psychological torture. Her response is always the same: "I'm too sensitive. I need to learn to take a joke." Her sister piles on with, "God, you're no fun." This matters because when someone laughs at your fear on purpose, it stops being humor and starts being a habit. Last weekend, my wife wanted to reconnect with nature, so we drove 2 hours out to a remote state park. Lots of hiking trails, barely any cell service, and just a couple cars at the trailhead. Her sister tagged along like she always does. We hiked for a while and stopped at a clearing to snack, normal moment. I stepped behind some trees to pee. I came back and they were gone. At first I assumed they walked ahead. I called out, "Nothing." I walked up the trail, then back down. No sign of them. Then a text finally came through on my one shaky bar of service. "Surprise, we took the car. Good luck getting back, lol. Don't be such a baby about it." Right after that, a selfie loaded. Them in my car, both laughing, throwing up peace signs like they'd pulled off a bank job. I stared at my phone and felt something in me go quiet. Not anger, not panic, just clarity. My wallet was in the car, my keys, everything. The sun was starting to drop, and they thought this was entertainment. Some people ignore disrespect because it's dressed up as a joke. But the environment doesn't care what you call it. If you're stranded, you're stranded. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I used the one bar of service I had and called the police. "Hi, I need to report a stolen vehicle." The dispatcher took my info, plate number, location, description. I kept my voice calm. My wife and her sister took my car without permission and abandoned me in a remote area. The car is registered solely in my name. I do not give them permission to use it. The dispatcher asked if I was safe. If I needed medical attention. I said no, but I did need a ride. They said they'd send someone. Eventually, a park ranger showed up. Older guy, kind face at first, until he realized what I was saying. "You're the one who reported the stolen car." "Yeah, my wife and her sister took it and stranded me here as a prank." He blinked like he was waiting for the punchline, then looked at me again. "They left you here intentionally." "Yep, here's the text." I showed him the message and the selfie. His face changed from concern to angry. "That's not a prank. That's abandonment. You could have gotten lost, injured. Hypothermia sets in fast out here after sunset." "Exactly." He told me the description was already out to highway patrol, and if they hit the main roads, they'd be stopped. Then he drove me to the ranger station and let me charge my phone. When my phone powered up, it exploded. Dozens of missed calls from my wife. A flood of messages. "What the hell? Police pulled us over. They said you reported the car stolen. Are you insane? They made us get out and searched everything like we're criminals." My sister is crying. "Call them off right now." Her sister texted too. "This is legit psycho behavior over a joke." That was the moment it hit me. They weren't scared because they understood what they'd done. They were scared because consequences had finally found them. I didn't respond to any of it. After a while, I called my wife. She answered instantly, already screaming. "What is wrong with you? You called the cops. You stole my car. It's not stolen, we were pranking you. You took my vehicle without permission and left me stranded in the woods. That's theft." "Oh my God, it was a joke. We were coming back." "When?" Silence. "An hour. 2 hours, tomorrow morning, ever. She didn't answer. She just pivoted into the same script. You're being ridiculous. You're overreacting. Am I? You abandoned your husband in the middle of nowhere and thought it was funny. Then she complained about how humiliating it was being pulled over, searched, treated like a criminal. I said, more humiliating than being ditched in the woods while my wife laughs about it. She had nothing, just more blame, so I told her, don't come home tonight, stay with your sister. You can't kick me out. Just did. I hung up. The ranger drove me home. It was late by the time I got there and I didn't hesitate. I changed the locks. The house is mine. I bought it before we married. My name is the only one on the deed. When someone treats your safety like a punchline, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is stop negotiating. Later that night, my wife showed up pounding on the door. Open up. This is my house. I spoke through the doorbell camera. Nope, stay at your sister's. We'll talk when you're ready to be an adult about what you did. You're really doing this over a prank. Over you thinking abandoning me was entertainment. I'm calling the police. Go for it. Tell them you're locked out of a house you don't own after stealing my car and stranding me. She stood there a moment, then left. Over the next few days, my phone didn't stop. Her family, her friends, people who weren't there but somehow had strong opinions. I called a divorce lawyer and booked a consultation. Then the circus officially arrived. Her mom called first, crying like I'd done something unforgivable. You're tearing this family apart over a harmless joke. Harmless. They left me stranded in the woods, but they were coming back for you. How did I know that? They didn't answer my calls. I had no idea if they were coming back in an hour or never. She went from crying to yelling in seconds. My daughters were just having fun. Your daughters committed grand theft auto. That's your wife. Married people share. Not when one of them takes the car to strand the other one in the wilderness. She called me cruel, heartless, dramatic. Hung up mid-rant. Then her dad called, more aggressive, like he wanted to intimidate me back into my place. I don't know what kind of man calls the cops on his own wife. The kind whose wife steals his car and abandons him. It was a prank. Pranks don't involve felonies and police stops. He told me my wife had been sobbing for days and I was destroying her. I said, maybe she should have thought about that before laughing at me being stranded. He called me vindictive. I told him I was setting boundaries. He said I'd regret throwing away my marriage over nothing and hung up. But it didn't stop with phone calls. My wife's sister went to social media. She posted this long rant calling me an abusive narcissist who weaponized the police against two innocent women just having fun. Mutual friends screenshot it and sent it to me. The comments were split. Some people were like, wait, they left him in the woods and took his car. That's dangerous. Others bought the performance. Her sister replied to anyone questioning her with, he was fine. He's playing victim because he's controlling and can't handle not getting his way. Then my wife made her own post, claiming I was holding her hostage by locking her out, that she was basically homeless because I couldn't take a silly prank. She deleted the comments from people pointing out that the house is mine and that stealing my car isn't a joke. A day later, the local police called me. Sir, we have a report you're withholding your wife's property from your residence. I took a breath and kept my voice calm. Her belongings are here. She can collect them any time. She just can't come inside the house. The officer asked me to explain what happened. I told him everything, start to finish. The prank, the theft report, the police stopped, the locks. And the house is yours, only your name on the deed. Yes, he said. You're legally allowed to control access to your property, but I recommend letting her get her belongings soon to avoid more complaints. I already planned to. I texted my wife. Saturday, come get your stuff. I'll have it boxed in the garage. 2 hours. Your sister can help, but neither of you comes inside. She replied instantly. You're actually kicking me out for real. You left me in the woods. Yeah, for real. We can work this out. Don't throw away everything we have. Work what out? You haven't apologized once. You keep calling it a joke like I'm the problem. Fine. You want an apology? I'm sorry. Happy now. That wasn't an apology. That was a tantrum with punctuation. I told her, get your stuff Saturday, bring your sister, don't be late. She said she was getting a lawyer. I replied, already have one. Saturday came. I spent the week packing her things. Clothes, toiletries, personal items. I was fair. Anything joint or unclear stayed in the house. She showed up with her sister and 2 friends and a rented U-Haul. I watched from my security cameras. Her sister made sure to talk loud enough to be heard. "Can you believe him? All this over a stupid prank." One friend said, "He does seem really controlling." Her sister went, "Oh, he is. She's been walking on eggshells for years." That was news to me, but I could see what was happening. When people don't want to admit they did something wrong, they rewrite the story until they're the victim. After they loaded most of the boxes, my wife rang the doorbell. "Can we talk, please?" I spoke through the speaker. "About what?" "I'm sorry. Okay, the prank went too far. Can we fix this?" I said, "Why was it wrong?" "What? Why was the prank wrong? Tell me." Long pause. "Because you got upset." "No, try again." "Because it was stupid." "Not good enough. Why was it wrong?" Another pause, then quieter. "Because I shouldn't have left you there." Getting warmer. "Why shouldn't you have left me there?" "I don't know what you want me to say." I said, "I want you to understand you endangered your spouse, stole my property, and violated basic decency. And you only care now because you're facing consequences. That's not fair. I do care about you. You didn't care when you were laughing at me being stranded. You care now because your comfortable life is disappearing." She stared at the camera like she wanted to argue but couldn't find words that didn't sound ugly. Her sister yelled from the van, "Stop wasting your time. He's a lost cause." My wife stood there a few seconds, then walked away and left with them. After that, I only heard from her lawyer. Divorce proceedings started. My lawyer is sharp. No nonsense. First thing she told me was, "Let's stick to facts and documentation." My wife's lawyer sent their demands, and they were bold. They wanted $2,500 a month in spousal support for 3 years, half the equity in my house that I bought before we met, my car temporarily until she could afford one, a bunch of furniture I owned before marriage. My lawyer actually laughed. Does her attorney understand what separate property is? She told me the house was solid. My name only, purchased before marriage, same with the car. Spousal support was the only area with some flexibility. She asked about incomes. My wife worked part-time at a boutique, making around $1,400 a month. I made about $7,200 monthly. My lawyer said we'd likely end up with temporary support, maybe $700 to $900 for a year or so, but nothing like the fantasy list they sent. Then the harassment started. My wife's sister called my office and filed an HR complaint claiming I was creating a hostile work environment by discussing personal legal matters at work. I never did. Not once. My boss called me in and said, "We got a weird complaint from someone claiming to be your sister-in-law." I said, "Let me guess, hostile work environment." He nodded. "Yeah, that you've been talking about personal stuff here," I told him. "I haven't mentioned it once. This is her trying to mess with me." He said HR had to investigate, but it sounded like divorce sabotage. He told me to keep my head down and not engage. HR talked to co-workers. Everyone confirmed I hadn't discussed anything personal. Complaint dismissed. Strike one. Then the sister called my property management company, claiming to be my wife and saying I was destroying property and violating housing codes. The manager called me confused. I told him the same thing. "We're divorcing. She doesn't live here. She's harassing me." He blocked the number. Strike two. Then my wife filed a police report claiming I stole her grandmother's ring, a diamond necklace, and $3,000 cash hidden in the house. Police called me in. I brought my lawyer. The officer read the report and asked if I had any of the items. I said, "The rings were in the jewelry box I packed for her. I have time-stamped photos of everything. The necklace doesn't exist. I've never seen it. The cash is fiction." I pulled up photos on my phone. Every box before and after packing with timestamps. Clear shots of her jewelry, including rings. The officer looked at it and said, "This is very thorough." My lawyer told him it was obvious harassment. Without proof the items existed or belonged to her, nothing would come of it. The report got noted. My lawyer sent a letter to my wife's attorney warning that false police reports were serious. Then came the day that really confirmed what kind of person my wife and her sister were. They showed up at my house unannounced with a locksmith. I was home. I watched through my security camera. Her sister told the locksmith, "This is her house, she just needs to get in." The locksmith asked for ID with the address. My wife said she didn't have updated ID but had old mail and screenshots. The locksmith looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, I need current proof, and if there's any ownership dispute, I can't get involved." I spoke through the ring speaker. "That's smart, because I own this house and she doesn't live here." They jumped. The locksmith looked relieved. "Sir, is this your property?" "Yes, solely mine. She's my ex-wife and she's not allowed here." He packed up and left immediately. My wife and her sister stood there like they couldn't believe reality wasn't bending for them. I called the police non-emergency. "My ex-wife and her sister just tried to break into my house using a locksmith. They're on my property without permission. I have video." An officer came. They had already left, but I showed him the footage. He said, "This is clearly trespassing. Do you want to press charges?" I said, "I want it documented." "If it happens again, then yes." He recommended a restraining order if the behavior continued. I sent the report to my lawyer and she filed for a protective order immediately. She listed everything: the car theft, the false theft claim, the attempted illegal entry, the workplace complaint, the harassment pattern. My wife's lawyer wrote back accusing me of escalating unnecessarily and weaponizing the system. My lawyer's response was simple: "Your client filed false reports, attempted illegal entry, and engaged in workplace harassment. Our client is responding appropriately. If the behavior stops, there won't be further escalation." A hearing was scheduled. In the middle of all this, I heard through mutual friends that my wife was staying with her sister and it wasn't going well. She wasn't paying rent or groceries. Her sister was getting fed up. It was almost funny. The same entitlement that made them comfortable leaving me in the woods was now making them miserable living together. The protective order hearing came. My wife showed up with her sister and their lawyer. My lawyer showed up with a folder so thick it looked like it had its own zip code. Their lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive, as someone abusing the system. My lawyer calmly presented the evidence: the police report from the stolen car, the false theft report, the trespass report, the video, screenshots of the sister's calls to my workplace. Everything documented. The judge looked tired in that way you only get from seeing the same nonsense over and over. He looked at my wife and said, "Ma'am, you and your sister abandoned your husband in a remote location and took his vehicle." My wife tried. "It was a prank, Your Honor." The judge said, "A prank that resulted in a police stop and a theft investigation." He reported his stolen vehicle. That's proper procedure, not overreacting. Then he asked the simplest question: "What was your plan? When were you going back?" My wife said, "We were going to go back." The judge leaned forward. "When?" Silence. "So your husband was supposed to wait in the woods indefinitely and hope you returned." She tried. "It wasn't dangerous." The judge said, "That's luck, not planning. What if he got lost? Injured. Temperature drops fast in those areas. People die from exposure." Their lawyer tried to redirect, saying the hearing was about the protective order, not the past. The judge replied, "The past establishes a pattern, which brings us to false police reports, attempted illegal entry, and workplace harassment." He looked at my wife. "Why file a report claiming stolen property when you had no proof it existed?" My wife stammered. "I thought he took it." The judge said, "Thought or wanted to cause problems?" No answer. Then he said, "I see a pattern of someone upset about consequences and lashing out." Restraining order granted. No contact except through attorneys. No contact with my workplace or property. Any violations would bring contempt charges. On the way out, her sister muttered loud enough for me to hear, "All this over a stupid joke. He destroyed her life." My lawyer looked at me and said, "Want to add that to the file?" I said, "No, let's just go." A few days later, we did divorce mediation. Her lawyer came in still demanding spousal support, half the house, the car. My lawyer explained reality again. House is separate property, purchased before marriage, never commingled. Car is mine and was literally stolen by my wife and her sister. Spousal support might happen short-term, but nothing extreme. Eventually, the mediator suggested a deal. I keep the house, I keep my car, I keep my retirement. We split the joint savings, $4,200 total. She gets $2,100. I pay $750 a month in spousal support for 18 months. Each of us pays our own legal fees. Her lawyer pushed for more, but my lawyer pointed out that if it went to trial, she'd likely get even less because of the theft, the false reports, and the harassment. They went to consult, came back, and accepted. The final divorce hearing was quick. The judge reviewed everything, asked if we understood, and agreed. We both said yes. He signed. Done. Walking out of the courthouse, my ex tried one last time. Was it worth it, ending everything? I said, I didn't end anything. You did that when you left me in the woods. I apologized. You apologized for getting caught, not for what you did. She looked at me like she still couldn't believe the world didn't reset just because she wanted it to. Her sister was outside waiting. She said, he'll regret this. Guys like him always do. I didn't respond. I just got in my car and drove home. When everything was totaled, this cost me around $36,000. Legal fees, the support payments, splitting the joint savings, worth every penny, because this was never about revenge, it was about respect, about boundaries, about refusing to be treated like a joke. I changed the locks again, upgraded the security system. I'm paranoid now, and honestly, that's what repeated violations do to you. I adopted a dog from the shelter, big German Shepherd mix. I always wanted one, but my ex claimed she was allergic. He's perfect. The house feels like mine again. Work is solid. Quiet finally. Word is my ex is still living with her sister and it's not going great. Both of them broke, both complaining about how unfair everything was. And apparently the sister is trying to kick her out because she's not helping with bills. Funny how entitlement works when there's no one left to absorb it. People have asked me if I regret it. Reporting the car, changing the locks, the divorce, the restraining order. Not even a little. Reporting the car wasn't revenge. It was truth. She stole my car. The divorce wasn't punishment. It was self-preservation. The restraining order wasn't vindictive. It was necessary. Marriage doesn't mean unlimited tolerance for cruelty disguised as humor. It doesn't mean you have to smile while someone endangers you and calls you a baby for reacting. My ex showed me who she was that day in the woods. She showed me she didn't respect me, didn't value my safety, and thought my distress was comedy. I believed her, and I acted on it. Since then, I've started seeing someone new. I met her at a coffee shop. We both reached for the last blueberry muffin at the same time. We laughed, split it, and ended up talking for 2 hours. She thinks the woods story is insane. Sometimes she brings me coffee with "still not stranded" written on the cup. That's what humor is supposed to be. Something that makes you feel safe, not small. Life's too short to spend with people who think your pain is entertainment. Lesson 1: if someone keeps calling you too sensitive after hurting you, they're not joking. They're training you to tolerate disrespect. Lesson 2: a prank that relies on fear, isolation, or danger isn't a prank. It's cruelty with a punchline. Lesson 3: boundaries don't work unless you enforce them. Saying, I don't like this, means nothing if nothing changes. Lesson 4: when someone shows you they don't respect your safety, believe them the first time. Don't wait for prank number 20. Lesson 5: consequences aren't vindictive. They're how reality teaches people who refuse to learn any other way. What would you have done the moment you got that text at the trailhead? And if you've ever dealt with someone who used "it was just a joke" to excuse hurting you, what finally made you stop accepting it?